Long, long, long ago, in a time when tigers smoked pipes, the Greek god Zeus and a human woman, Alcmene, gave birth to a mythological superhero, Hercules. However, because he was the son of Zeus, he attracted the jealousy and hatred of Hera even before he was born. When Hercules was just 8 months old, Hera attempted to kill him by placing 2 venomous snakes into his cradle. But baby Hercules grabbed the snakes and strangled them to death. Hercules grew up in the city of Thebes. One day, an army from Orchomenos, sent by Erginus, invaded Thebes. Hercules leads Thebes' outmatched army into battle, defeating the invading forces. He then goes on to raid and conquer the city of Orchomenos. In gratitude, King Creon of Thebes offers his daughter, Megara, in marriage to Hercules. Hercules and Megara have 2 sons together, but their happiness is short-lived. Unable to bear Hercules' happiness, Hera strikes Hercules with madness. In a tragic fit of rage, Hercules kills his wife and 2 sons. Seeking to atone for his sins, Hercules visits the temple of Apollo, where he hears a prophecy. If he completes the tasks assigned by King Eurystheus of Mycenae, he will cleanse his sins and join the ranks of the gods. Thus, Hercules sets out on an adventure to fulfill 12 labors given to him by Eurystheus. His first task is to capture the Nemean lion. Armed with a club made of olive wood, Hercules enters the lion's den and strangles the lion with his bare hands. Hercules then skins the lion and wears its hide on his head. From that moment on, the lion's pelt and olive wood club become Hercules' signature look. His second task was to kill the monstrous Hydra. The Hydra was an immortal serpent with 9 heads. Hercules cut off each of the 9 heads and buried them deep in the ground, placing a large rock over them to prevent it from ever reviving. His third task was to capture the Ceryneian hind. This hind had golden antlers and was so fast that capturing it was nearly impossible. After over a year of pursuit, Hercules finally managed to capture the hind alive. The fourth task was to capture a giant boar alive. Hercules chased the boar into the deep snow on a mountain slope and finally managed to capture the massive creature. When he brought the boar alive back to the palace, King Eurystheus hid in fear. The next task was to clean the Augean stables. The stables were filled with the waste of 3,000 cattle. Hercules offered to clean the stables in 1 day if Augeas would give him 1/10 of the cattle, 300 head, as payment. Augeas agreed to this demand. Hercules made 2 large openings in the stable walls and diverted a river to wash away all the filth in one sweep. However, Augeas broke his promise and refused to pay him. Furious, Hercules vowed revenge and left Augeas' kingdom. The sixth task was to exterminate a flock of monstrous birds. These creatures had the upper bodies of women and the lower bodies of birds. They had been terrorizing nearby villagers, killing and eating them. When Hercules arrived where the birds lived, he shook a bronze rattle given to him by Hephaestus. Startled, the monstrous birds took flight from the trees, and Hercules shot them down with arrows, killing most of them. The seventh task was to capture the wild bull of Crete. Eurystheus thought that sending Hercules far to Crete would make completing the task difficult. But to Eurystheus' surprise, Hercules captured the bull with ease. The eighth task was to bring back the mares of Diomedes, the king of Thrace. Diomedes fed these mares on human flesh. As Hercules stole the mares and was about to sail back, Diomedes pursued him. Hercules defeated Diomedes with his olive wood club and returned with the mares to Eurystheus. The next task was to retrieve the girdle of the Amazon queen. Upon meeting Hercules, the Amazon queen willingly agreed to give him her girdle. Enraged by this, Hera disguised herself as an Amazon warrior and spread rumors that Hercules had come to kidnap the queen. Misunderstanding the situation, the queen attacked Hercules, who defeated her in the fight and took the girdle back with him. The 10th task was to bring back the cattle of Geryon. Geryon was a monster with 3 heads, 3 bodies, and 6 arms. The cattle were guarded by Orthrus, a 2-headed monster dog. When Hercules arrived at Geryon's pasture, Orthrus attacked him. Hercules defeated Orthrus with his olive wood club and then subdued the herdsman, Eurytion. Finally, as Geryon rushed to confront him, Hercules shot him down with an arrow and drove the cattle back to Mycenae. The 11th task was to retrieve the golden apples guarded by the Hesperides nymphs and the dragon Ladon. The Hesperides were the daughters of Atlas, who bore the weight of the sky as punishment. When Hercules finally met Atlas, he asked him to fetch a golden apple for him and offered to hold up the sky in his place. Atlas, relieved to set down the heavy burden of the sky, realized he never wanted to bear it again. Atlas then offered to personally deliver the golden apple to Eurystheus. Pretending to agree, Heracles asked Atlas to briefly hold the sky again so he could adjust the weight on his shoulders. As soon as Atlas took up the sky once more, Heracles took the golden apple and calmly walked away. The 12th and final task was to bring back Cerberus, the hound of the underworld. Meeting Hades, the king of the underworld, Heracles asked to borrow Cerberus for a short while. Hades agreed, on the condition that Heracles subdue Cerberus with his bare hands to grant his request under one condition. After a fierce struggle, Heracles subdued Cerberus, thus completing all 12 labors. Even after finishing these labors, Heracles continued to wander from place to place. He sought vengeance on King Laomedon of Troy, who had broken a promise to him, aided Zeus in the war against the giants, helping secure victory for the Olympian gods, and finally punished King Augeas, who had refused to honor their agreement after Heracles cleaned his stables. Continuing his adventures, Heracles eventually fell victim to a trick by the centaur Nessus, who deceived Heracles' wife, Deianira. Poison from the Hydra seeped into Heracles' body, causing him unbearable pain. In agony, he ended his life by setting himself on fire. Zeus then gathered the Olympian gods for a council and proposed that Heracles, for his incredible deeds, be elevated to godhood. Heracles thus became the only hero in Greek mythology to ascend as a god.